With the launch of a new generation, it's usually smart to come out with a killer exclusive or exclusives to get people to buy your hardware. And that seems to be a trend that is not stopping with this upcoming generation, with Xbox Scarlet launching with Halo Infinite and Nintendo Switch launching with 1-2 Switch. Just kidding, obviously Breath of the Wild. And that raises the question, what will PS5's killer app or apps be that will get you to buy the hardware? And yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We got some cool news on the PS5, learned a little bit about those triggers, a little bit about the release window, holiday 2020, so we know it will be competing against Microsoft and it will have to come out swinging. So let's talk. But before we do, guys, let me know in the comments what you think the exclusive games are going to be. Throw a like if you like this content, and if you love this content, we'd love a sub. Alright, so first things first, I want to go over the first-party games that launched with the PS4 and PS3. PS4 had Killzone Shadowfall and my boy Knack coming in clutch, where PS3 had Resistance and Genji, with one of those being a good game. So here's what I kind of want to highlight, at least at a glance. There was one kind of alternative game with Genji and Knack, and then there was one shooter or more mainstream game with Killzone and Resistance. And that's just something I think is important to keep in mind as we pick these games. The next thing I just want to briefly go over is, yeah, there are two games. So I am personally going to be highlighting two studios with two projects that I think are going to be happening day one on launch. And then I'm going to go through the other major studios, studios that work on first-party PlayStation, non-Vita, non-VR titles, just because I'm not sure what those studios are going to be doing. They might be all on PSVR 2 or something else. So yeah, I'm going to be listing two games that I think, and then, yeah, the rest of the studios and where I think they're at right now, personally, just existing. So the first thing I do want to talk about is Bluepoint has teased their game a couple times now, most recently in this PS5 news break, where they basically said their game is very big. Basically, they said it's a big project for them. So great. What could that big project be? And it is a remake, at least as far as we know from an interview back in like 2018 with IGN, that it basically confirmed that it's a remake. So I'm going to be assuming it's a remake. Now, I would like to highlight Greg Miller, Kind of Funny Games. I believe on October 8th, he was speculating the same thing, like what is Bluepoint's remake going to be? And he said a Metal Gear game. Specifically, not necessarily Metal Gear Solid, and there's a number of reasons for this. One, Konami would like to milk that Metal Gear money, but they might not want to put their name or use their resources to develop the game, so they could outsource the license. And who better to do a remake than someone like Bluepoint? The second interesting thing to note is, well, Kojima's Death Stranding project is wrapping up. Kojima is also basically Sony first party himself, and Konami and the Metal Gear series have very traditionally heavily been, not PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation based. So I wanted to throw that out there. And again, Greg Miller was not talking Metal Gear Solid, and I think there's a good case for that. Metal Gear Solid 1, which is probably the best one to remake, if not 3, just thinking about like how to play these games. 1 has already been re-released in the form of Twin Snakes. I'm not sure how remaking it again would have to go, if there are any rights issues. And yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 is definitely an option, but I think Greg Miller made a point where he said, yeah, let's just do a Metal Gear game. You know, one of the older ones that people either don't really want to play, don't have access to, don't even know about, period. Let's get one of those in 3D with updated gameplay. That would definitely be a huge project. and they could possibly at least talk to Kojima, maybe? There's a chance. Just, yeah, that's Greg Miller's idea. The other rumor I've heard a lot of is Demon Souls being remade. Again, that seems a little rightsy. I'm not sure what the rights are to doing that. So I'm personally leaning closer to Eco. That's where I'm throwing my hat in for the remake. We already got Shadow of the Colossus. It already looks beautiful. They don't necessarily have the assets made. They have the art and the look and the feel, and it was extremely well received. And I think Eco would be a very solid decision on their part for a remake. And then you could even later do like a bundle a couple months out where you have like Shadow of the Colossus Definitive Edition PS5 and Eco or something. So yeah, that is where I'm at with Bluepoint. I do think that whatever the Bluepoint project is will be one of the games that we see day one on PS5, and it is a remake. And the next game I want to talk about, or the next studio, so now I'm going to basically be going into studios, is Guerrilla Games. Guerrilla Games has previously worked on Killzone, obviously most recently on PS4. They did Killzone Shadowfall and Horizon Zero Dawn. And I just want to kind of first off say that it's basically been leaked that it's Horizon Zero Dawn 2. One of the executives at the studio said something along the lines of, oh, well, you won't believe what they're doing on the next one, implying Horizon Zero Dawn 2. It was heavily implied in the quote. If I can find the quote, it will be on the screen. But the thing I do want to note are the release date disparity between the Killzone games. So Killzone 1 is kind of the oddball out with a 2004 release. Killzones 2, 3, and Shadowfall both happen every other year, with Killzone 2 being in 2009, 3 being 2011, and Shadow being 2013. And the other thing I want to note is the time difference between the generation gaps. So even though there was a generation gap between PS3 to PS4, it was still that 2-year cycle of games. So once Guerrilla ramps up and gets their tech in line, it seems like they're able to churn out games at a relatively good clip. And Horizon Zero Dawn came out 2 years ago. So, well, it will have been closer. It will have been over 3 by the time the PS5 comes out, which lines up perfectly for them pumping out another game in a new generation. They've shown that they can do it before. They could easily do it again. And yeah, I think that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will be the killer app that competes with Halo Infinite in holiday 2020, personally. And I think there's pretty good evidence, pretty good track record for it. The only other thing that I will this is totally like apples and oranges comparison, but Horizon Zero Dawn came out basically within a couple weeks of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and people are speculating a holiday 2020 for that. I personally am speculating a holiday 2020 for that. In any event, Breath of the Wild 2 is most certainly in development, and Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is again, apples and oranges. It's not Breath of the Wild, but I would imagine there would be some reused assets, much like Breath of the Wild. It seems like those two games are on a similar development path. Obviously, very different studios, very different technology, but regardless, I think the timeline of Guerrilla's work shows I do think we will get Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as the launch title for the PS5. So next, let's talk Naughty Dog. They are not going to be there at launch day unless it is some special edition Last of Us 2 PS5. They're not going to be there on launch day. There's no way. They are pushing a game out in February, and I think we can assume the console will come out late October, early November. There's no way they're turning out a game or are working on another game, because they have specifically said this is their biggest project yet. They've cut multiplayer to make single player big, complete. This game is going to be insanely huge. It's an all hands on deck kind of project. Naughty Dog will not be there day one, again, unless it is some kind of a remaster. Next, I want to talk Insomniac. And I think Spider-Man sold way too well for them to have any sort of side project for Ratchet and Clank or Resistance. I sincerely think Insomniac is all hands on deck for getting that next Spider-Man game out as fast as humanly possible. I do not think it will be fast enough for the launch of the PS5, if only because, again, it seems like Guerrilla has shown that they're able to get out games at a decent clip, and they've had more than an extra year to be prepared over Spider-Man. So I think it kind of makes sense that Spider-Man cooks a little bit longer. Also, it'll be interesting to see if there's any collaboration with Disney and Marvel and all that, now that apparently they're all happy again. And next we have Santa Monica Studios. Again, very similar situation where God of War was just too damn good to go dive into any of their properties like Twisted Metal or something of that nature. All hands on deck for God of War 2, which will not be day one, in my opinion. Cory Barlog takes his time with his games, and well, it seemed like they actually had a very, very solid kind of timeline. Like, Cory Barlog seemed to have God of War 2 at least conceptually figured out in his mind. You could tell he was planting the seeds for a sequel that he already had planned. I think God of War 2 basically started production immediately after God of War 1 ended. I don't think it's going to be ready for day one, and I don't think it needs to be ready for day one. Again, God of War came out a fair bit later than Horizon Zero Dawn, so again, I'm going to give time the benefit of the doubt on this one, and again, give it to Guerrilla. And the last studio I want to talk about is Sucker Punch Studios. Again, no. Ghost of Tsushima does not even have a release date yet, with the PS5 looming. And it has basically been confirmed numerous times that yes, it will be a PS4 game, so I don't doubt that it's going to jump to PS5. However, I don't think that they're going to have another project in the works. I bet we get it. If we get The Last of Us in February and we get the PS5 in October, November, I'd say right slap dab in the middle, early summer to summer game, Ghost of Tsushima, the swan song, almost kind of like how God of War 2 was the swan song of the PS2 exclusive, even though the PS3 was all but out. I think it makes sense. Ghost of Tsushima, again, it's back. The PS5 is backwards compatible, so it, in a way, could be a reason to buy a PS5. You buy your PS5 with your Bluepoint remake or your Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and then it's not like you're left without any other game. You still have Ghost of Tsushima, which could feasibly come out next holiday. Like, it's not impossible. Could make sense, and there's like 100 million PS4s out, so it's not like it would be a mistake for them to release a PS4 game, with the exception of giving a mixed message on whether or not you should buy the platform. And with that, we're done, guys. What do you think the next, or the big killer app that's competing with Halo Infinite, possibly competing with Breath of the Wild 2 for holiday 2020? I think the boxing gloves are going to come off. It's going to be a wild launch. Can't wait. But that is all for me, guys. Catch you next time.